What if everything you thought you knew about Jungkook and Taehyung was only half the story? What if behind the smiles, the stages, and the carefully crafted moments, there was something neither of them could fully say out loud? Because what just happened in Jungkook's Vogue interview has left millions of ARMY questioning everything. Not just his words but his silence. Not just his answers but the way he struggled to give them. Why did his voice change when Taehyung's name came up? Why did he pause as if choosing between truth and restraint? And what did he mean when he said, "I didn't think things would turn out like this"? That sentence alone was enough to send shockwaves across the fandom. But it wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. The hesitation, the emotion, the feeling that something deeper was trying to surface but couldn't. Was it pain, regret, or something that fans were never supposed to notice? And then comes the biggest question of all. Where is Taehyung in all of this? Why hasn't he responded? Is his silence protecting something or confirming something? Because the more you watch this moment, the more it feels like a puzzle. One filled with missing pieces, hidden clues, and a truth that's slowly starting to break through. So what really happened between Jungkook and Taehyung? And why does this feel like the moment everything changed? Stay with us because what we're about to uncover might not be what you expect. The question spread like wildfire across social media, igniting panic, curiosity, and heartbreak all at once. What did Jungkook just reveal in his unexpected Vogue interview? And more importantly, why did his words feel like a quiet confession of something much deeper, something heavier, something ARMY was never meant to hear? Tonight, we uncover the moment that left millions speechless. It began subtly, almost too calmly for what would follow. Jungkook, known for his composed demeanor and careful words, sat down for what was expected to be a standard Vogue feature. Fashion, artistry, growth. But somewhere between the polished questions and scripted answers, something shifted. His tone softened. His eyes, as many fans pointed out, didn't match his smile. And then he mentioned Taehyung, not in the usual way. Not with the playful warmth or brotherly affection that ARMY has grown used to over the years. No, this was different. This was heavier, slower. Almost like every word had to pass through a wall of hesitation before being allowed to exist. Why? Why did Jungkook pause before saying Taehyung's name? Why did his voice tremble, even slightly, when he continued? ARMY noticed immediately. Clips spread within minutes. Translations followed seconds later. And then came the storm. "I didn't think things would turn out like this." That was the sentence. The one that changed everything. Simple, vague, but devastating. What did he mean? The internet erupted into theories. Some believed it was about their schedules, their distance, or their individual paths growing apart. Others weren't convinced. They pointed to Jungkook's expression, his eyes avoiding the camera, and the subtle tightening of his jaw as proof that this wasn't just about work. This was personal. This was emotional. And perhaps this was something that had been building for a long time. As the interview continued, Jungkook tried to regain composure. He spoke about growth, about learning, about accepting change. But every time Taehyung's name lingered in the air, there was an undeniable shift in energy. The room felt heavier even through the screen. I wanted to say more, but I couldn't. Another line, another clue, another wave of shock. What was stopping him? Was it pressure? Was it fear? Or was it something far more complicated? Something tied to decisions made behind closed doors? Fans began revisiting past moments. The Paris incident. The quiet airport interactions. The lack of eye contact that once felt impossible between the two. Each memory, once dismissed as coincidence, now felt like a piece of a puzzle no one wanted to solve. And then came the moment that truly broke ARMY. Jungkook fell silent for nearly 5 full seconds. In television time, that's an eternity. In emotional reality, it's everything. He looked down, his hands clenched slightly, and when he finally spoke again, his voice was softer than ever before. Sometimes you don't get to choose how things end. What end was he talking about? A chapter, a phase, or something much more permanent? The words echoed across platforms, dissected endlessly, and it felt final, too final. And ARMY wasn't ready to accept that. Not for them. Not for Taekook. Social media turned into a battlefield of emotions. Some fans pleaded for calm, insisting that Jungkook's words were being misunderstood or taken out of context. Others couldn't ignore the emotional weight behind every pause, every unfinished sentence. Because this wasn't just an interview anymore. This was a message. Hidden, perhaps. Controlled, definitely, but still a message. And Taehyung's silence. No response. No clarification, no comforting post, nothing. The absence only made things louder. Why wasn't Taehyung responding? Did he know what Jungkook said? Had he seen the reaction? Or was this silence intentional? A choice to let the storm pass without adding fuel to the fire? The mystery deepened with every passing hour. Insiders, though unconfirmed, began hinting at internal tensions. Not conflict necessarily, but distance. Emotional distance. The kind that doesn't happen overnight. The kind that builds slowly, quietly, until one day it becomes impossible to ignore. Was Jungkook's Vogue moment the breaking point? Or was it simply the first crack in a truth that had been carefully hidden? One thing became clear. Jungkook was holding back. Not because he had nothing to say, but because he had too much. And that might be the most heartbreaking part of all. In a world where idols are expected to maintain perfection, to protect images, and to prioritize silence over vulnerability, Jungkook's near confession felt dangerously real. It blurred the line between public persona and private pain. He didn't cry, but maybe that made it worse because sometimes the strongest emotions are the ones that never fully escape. As ARMY continues to search for answers, one question remains at the center of it all. What really happened between Jungkook and Taehyung? Was it distance, timing, pressure, or something deeper that fans may never fully understand? And more importantly, is this truly the end of something? Or just the beginning of a truth that's finally starting to surface? Until either Jungkook or Taehyung speaks again, the silence will keep echoing louder than any words ever could. And ARMY will keep watching, waiting, and hoping, because somewhere in that quiet, in those unfinished sentences and trembling pauses, lies a story that hasn't been fully told yet. The silence that followed Jungkook's words did not fade. It grew louder, heavier, almost unbearable for those who had been watching every second, analyzing every breath, and searching for something that could explain what they had just witnessed. Because this wasn't just another interview moment that would disappear in the endless cycle of content. No, this felt different. This felt like the beginning of something unraveling, and ARMY knew it. Within hours, the Vogue clip had spread across every platform imaginable. Millions replayed the exact moment Jungkook hesitated, rewinding again and again as if the truth might reveal itself between frames. His expression became evidence. His pauses became clues. Even the smallest shift in his tone was dissected like a coded message waiting to be understood. But the more people watched, the more questions surfaced. Why did he look like he was holding something back? Why did the mention of Taehyung feel so fragile, almost like stepping on something that could break at any moment? And most haunting of all, why did it feel like Jungkook wasn't just answering a question, but struggling against something much bigger than the interview itself? Behind the polished set of Vogue, behind the soft lighting and carefully curated aesthetic, something raw had slipped through, something unfiltered. And once it was out, there was no taking it back. Observers began pointing out details that at first glance seemed insignificant. The way Jungkook's fingers tightened together when Taehyung's name was mentioned, the way he inhaled deep and slow, almost bracing himself before continuing, the way his eyes drifted away from the interviewer as if searching for something that wasn't there, or perhaps someone. Was he remembering something? A moment, a conversation, a goodbye that fans never saw? Speculation intensified when a longer translation of the interview began circulating. According to some interpretations, Jungkook didn't just speak about change. He spoke about losing timing with someone important. Losing timing. The phrase struck ARMY like a shockwave. What does that even mean? Was it about missed opportunities, words left unsaid, or something more painful? Something that suggests two people who once moved in perfect sync no longer do? Suddenly, old clips resurfaced. Moments that once seemed joyful now carried a different weight. A glance that lasted too long. A silence that felt too loud. A smile that didn't quite reach the eyes. Had the signs always been there? Or were fans only seeing them now through the lens of Jungkook's emotional confession? As the hours turned into a full day, the situation only became more intense. Fan forums turned into emotional archives, collecting every interaction between Jungkook and Taehyung from the past year. Some pointed to their reduced public interactions. Others highlighted subtle differences in body language during group appearances. But one particular moment kept resurfacing. an airport clip that many had previously overlooked. In the video, Jungkook stands slightly behind the group, his gaze briefly locking onto Tae. For a split second, it feels like something is about to happen, like one of them might step forward, say something, close the distance, but it never happens. Taehyung turns away. Jungkook stays still. And just like that, the moment passes. At the time, it meant nothing. Now it feels like everything. Was that the moment Jungkook was thinking about during the interview? Was that what he meant when he said, "I didn't think things would turn out like this"? The possibility sent chills through the fandom. Because if that's true, then this isn't just about the present. This is about a series of moments, decisions, and silences that have been building over time. And yet, through all of this, one crucial piece remains missing. Taehyung's voice. Where is he in all of this? Why hasn't he said anything? Some fans believe his silence is intentional, that he's choosing to protect something or someone by staying quiet. Others worry that the silence speaks louder than words ever could, because sometimes silence isn't just absence. Sometimes it's confirmation. But confirmation of what? That something has changed? That something has ended? Or that something is being hidden carefully, deliberately, beyond the reach of public understanding. Meanwhile, media outlets began picking up the story, each with their own interpretation and headlines designed to capture attention, but none able to provide definitive answers. Because the truth is, there are no clear answers, only fragments, only feelings, only a growing sense that something important is shifting beneath the surface. And at the center of it all is Jungkook, an artist who, for a brief moment, allowed the world to see beyond the polished exterior. A moment of vulnerability that now refuses to be ignored. But here's the part that continues to haunt ARMY the most. Near the end of the interview, just before the segment concluded, Jungkook was asked a simple question. What do you hope for moving forward? It should have been easy, a standard closing, a chance to end on a hopeful note. But instead of answering immediately, Jungkook paused again. Not the same pause as before. This one was longer, heavier, final. And when he finally spoke, his words were quiet, almost fragile. I hope we can still understand each other. Not we will. Not we do. But we can. A hope, not a certainty. And just like that, the interview ended. No clarification, no follow-up, no resolution. Just a sentence that now echoes in the minds of millions. Who is we? Why still? What happened that made understanding no longer guaranteed? The questions don't stop. They multiply. And as days begin to pass, the absence of answers only deepens the mystery. Because somewhere between what was said and what was left unsaid lies a truth that no one has fully uncovered yet. A truth that might explain everything or change everything. And until that truth comes to light, one question will continue to linger, unanswered and impossible to ignore. What really happened between Jungkook and Taehyung behind the cameras, beyond the stage, in the moments no one was meant to see?